You understand that these are not stupid things. You understand that. You keep calling them stupid. Yeah, but they're not stupid. Yeah, but they're important. You understand? They're very important. You know, in anger comes out the truth a lot of the time. We often, this is repeating what I said earlier, we often communicate information to people not directly, indirectly. Yeah? I mean, every drug is a cry for love. Right? Every drug is a cry for love. And from your explanation, your son has only been a mirror of your emotions and reactions. This is a deeper question, which is, you know, what is your foundational principle of love? That's a really complicated issue and area to go into because it's different for everybody. But children often express the unspoken desires of their parents as if they read our minds. Maybe they can. And he probably has fears the same way that you have fears. You have fears for his future, and he has fears over who he is as a personality, who he is as a person. He doesn't know who he is. Yeah, he hasn't been able to experience that yet. He is in the shadow. He lives in the shadow of his parents. He wants to step out of the shadow, but can't. There's going to be reactions to this because of the strict rules that he has expressed that he feels that he's under. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but you told me what he said and how he expressed himself, and his expressions are, I'm not free. Yeah, but everyone else is. There's no freedom in school. 24-hour, everything you do in school is watched by everybody else all of the time. There's no freedom in school. I'm thinking about it. I'm wondering, I'm wondering where that piece fits into the bigger puzzle. I understand that there's been a series of events, of things that have happened that have caused him to make a series of choices that have been continually negative. Right? There's been sort of a downward spiral from a certain point. Right? From a certain point, he was very unsatisfied with a lot of things and made a lot of changes to try to correct this being unsatisfied, but it just went down and down and down and down and down. And I'm wondering, what was the trigger for all of this? Was there something that happened in the family? Was there something that happened in his personal life? What was the beginning of the trigger for all of these changes? Because you're smart. What we can see right now is one domino falling, but many dominoes have fallen to create this present situation. It doesn't come from nowhere, and so it is worth trying to understand what the original domino that fell was. I think, look, in my experience, a lot of these problems happen when a child becomes 14, because, especially a boy, because they've got the physical capabilities of a man, but a lot of them don't have the emotions to be able to deal with it. And man makes decisions, but the boy makes bad decisions. right? So that might be a lack of emotional growth in that respect. It also might be a lack of, it seems to me very much he wasn't listening to his parents for a long period of time. He was not listening to you or your husband for a longer period of time. Well, two things. The first thing is that your son has switched off. Right? So, I mean, it doesn't matter what your husband says, it won't. It's switched off. And there was a second thing there. He's just your son is replacing the love he doesn't get from his father with marijuana. That won't be cured by a psychologist. That will not be cured by a psychologist. Okay, every time we don't get the love that we need, there's a little hole in our heart. Wherever the heart is. Yeah? Every time there's a little hole in our heart. And we can't live with a hole in our heart. We have to put something into that space. And that's where that's a root of a lot of our addictions. It's not the whole story, because life is more complicated, but that's the root of a lot of our addictions, is this lack. So, and punishing your son because your husband doesn't know how to communicate properly is wrong. Your son is going to react the same way that your husband reacts. It's a burned-in psychological pattern from 17 years of close contact experience. It's like being out in the sun for 17 years. You're going to get really hard skin like an elephant, right? And you're a very smart person. You can see that and you understand it. Look, smart is understanding, right? Stupid is not knowing, okay? And you're wise as a person. I said this before. Your son's marijuana is expressing your inabilities to communicate with your husband properly. And your son knows that he can't do it. Your son feels powerless to help mom and dad solve their communication difference, and will seek I don't know what stage it's at. I don't know how light or how dark it is. If your son sees, look, here's the dark side. Okay, the dark side is if your son sees your relationship with your husband sort of begin to sort of crumble, he will begin to crumble. Okay, if he sees negativity in that relationship, he will express it in his own life. If he sees the wrong focus as being there, he will mirror the wrong focuses. Now, it's more complex than that, but that's the basic dark side. I said earlier that the kids are fine. It's the adults who are fucked up, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way for you. It's like we naturally overcomplicate things because that's who we are as human beings in our lives. If you've ever looked at a car engine or the way an airplane works, or something. You know, that's of course that's a male perspective thing, but you know, it's not simple, right? And but when problems occur, it's not a problem with the whole thing; it's a problem with one part. But the problem with the one part makes the whole thing not work. But don't be hard on yourself. Okay, you're being like, do I do this or this or this? Don't be hard on yourself about it. Okay, it's nothing. To realization of the truth of a situation is not something to kick yourself with, right? I mean, it's something to work with and understand. Like divorcing a partner won't change who you are, and it will set a negative example for your children over how to solve problems. And in my opinion, I'm pretty sure if you go to somebody else will give you a completely different perspective on it. I'm only one person with one person's life experience. So I've done a lot of study on the effects of parental separation on children, and I think that it has a terrible effect on the children. I think that every metric of progress and development that could happen just goes straight down when the parents separate. Now there are extreme examples where people will argue that is much better, but I personally think this is completely the wrong road to go down. I think that we need to work. I think the bottom line is we need to work with what we have, because tomorrow is never guaranteed. That's the bottom line for me, right? Yeah, exactly. There's what we know will happen and what we don't know will happen. Right? I mean, like, I know that I will meet somebody, but I don't know what they will say to me in the meeting exactly. So there's a little bit that's predictable, and a large part that's unpredictable. And you know, I always laugh when someone says to me, "We're going to do this, and we know that this way is going to be the right way, and it's all going to be correct, and it's all going to work out." And, my reaction is always, "You sure?" Because, like, from my perspective, you know, as the weather changes, so can life change. Yeah, it's good to have a goal and a plan and a vision and to set out to achieve something. That's all great stuff. But also we need to have that flexibility to make things work on the way. From your explanation, your husband is not very flexible in his approach to things. As a result, your son is correct. He has to find a partner who is flexible in things. Of course, at the same time, we never want to compromise ourselves in the process. But you know, family life and making family life successful is the hardest task in the world. It's 1,000 times harder than the hardest job in the world. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, constant emotional struggle for most people. And it doesn't have to be that way, but a lot of people coming from backgrounds of things that are not perfect, and if you don't have the perfect blueprint or the map in the background, then you're going to struggle to make things work. Doesn't mean it's impossible, it just means you've got to work much, much harder to make things work in the future. And there's, you know, we all have this vision of what we want things to be like. I think we should have in about 5, 10, or 15 or 20 years. Whether or not it's all going to work out like that, I think we just have to be grateful for what we have. Right? I think we have to be grateful for. What's the solution to the problem? Being grateful for what we have every day, right? And once we start being grateful for what we have every day, once we, you know, it's I sort of live to a certain extent, I live every day thinking that tomorrow is never guaranteed, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'll have tomorrow. I'm happy, I'm healthy today. I can get up, I can do things, I can share things with people. If somebody needs something, like you send me a message, I'm like, yeah, come on, let's do it, because we can do it now, we can do it today, and we can all move forward. So I think that you're very hard on yourself. Yeah? And that's not a bad thing, but don't be hard in the same way on your kids that you are on yourself. Right? Don't be hard on your kids the same way that you are on yourself. You're asking yourself a lot of questions. You're trying to find solutions. You're being hard. You're working on it.